The harsh reality that fans are going to have to accept is Caitlin Clark is going to take all of the bullets for people like Olivia Miles, Hannah Hidalgo, Juju Watkins, so that they can be full of emotion during the game, so that they can be passionate and be themselves. Caitlin Clark is going to be the one to take all of the bullets for the players that are coming after her. She's held to a standard that no one else is held.
There is a growing reality surrounding Caitlin Clark that many fans do not want to admit. Every superstar faces pressure. Every franchise player faces criticism. Every generational talent eventually becomes a target. But what is happening around Caitlin Clark appears to operate under a completely different set of expectations. The discussion exploded again after comments from Connecticut Sun head coach Rachid Meziane and the contrasting examples involving Olivia Miles. Together, those moments painted a picture that goes far beyond a single game, a single matchup, or a single controversy. Rachid Meziane essentially acknowledged what defenders across the league are beginning to learn firsthand. Caitlin Clark can be pressured, she can be crowded, she can be forced into difficult shots. But even when defenses execute their game plan, she remains capable of producing at an elite level. That reality alone creates frustration because teams can do everything right and still watch Caitlin Clark put points on the board. At the same time, Olivia Miles became part of a completely different conversation. Not because of her talent, not because of her production, but because the reaction to her emotional displays appeared dramatically different from the reaction Caitlin Clark receives when showing similar emotion. That is where the story becomes bigger than basketball. Because when one player is celebrated for competitive fire while another is criticized for displaying the same passion, questions naturally emerge. And those questions sit at the center of a debate that continues to follow Caitlin Clark every time she steps onto a court. The issue is no longer whether Caitlin Clark is talented. The issue is whether Caitlin Clark is being judged by standards nobody else is expected to meet.
I mean, she did what she has to do against one of the best players in the world. So to don't step back, don't give her space and time to shot, and she still scoring 25 points, but it wasn't like easy shot, not comfortable shot. I just think that sometimes she has to adjust a little bit her level of aggressiveness, so sometimes to accept to step back a little bit. And
the first major revelation comes from Rachid Meziane's assessment of the defensive challenge Caitlin Clark presents. What makes those comments significant is not merely the praise. Coaches routinely compliment star players. What stood out was the acknowledgement that even an aggressive, physical defensive approach failed to make Caitlin Clark comfortable enough to completely remove her impact from the game. Rachid Meziane described a defender who refused to give Caitlin Clark space, a defender who attempted to disrupt rhythm, timing, and confidence. Yet the final outcome still involved Caitlin Clark producing offensively. That is the burden elite players place on opponents. Historically, the league has seen this phenomenon before. Great scorers force coaches into impossible calculations. Do you pressure them and risk breakdowns elsewhere? Do you play conservatively and allow them clean looks? Do you double team and expose other areas of the floor? Caitlin Clark is increasingly forcing those conversations every night. The deeper significance of Rachid Meziane's comments is that they indirectly reinforce Caitlin Clark's status as a player defenses must build entire game plans around. When that happens, the conversation shifts from talent to inevitability. Opponents are no longer asking whether Caitlin Clark can score. They are asking how much damage she will do. That distinction matters because it changes organizational priorities. It affects roster construction. It influences coaching strategies. It impacts defensive personnel decisions. Teams begin searching specifically for players capable of surviving assignments against Caitlin Clark. And even then, survival is often the goal rather than complete success. That is why Rachid Meziane's words carried weight. They reflected the reality that many coaches privately understand. The challenge is not stopping Caitlin Clark entirely. The challenge is limiting the damage and hoping the rest of the game breaks in your favor.
But if this was Caitlin Clark doing this trash talking, and I got more for you, it would be a problem.
Easy lay-in. Go back and forth there.
She talking crazy. She's talking crazy to Sarah Ashley Barker. But when Caitlin Clark talks trash, it's a problem. This is the reality we're going to face, guys. Caitlin Clark is never going to be treated fair.
The Olivia Miles discussion introduces the psychological side of this story. Competitive athletes talk trash, they celebrate, they complain to officials, they react emotionally in high-pressure moments. These behaviors have existed in basketball for decades. From previous generations to today's stars, emotion has often been viewed as evidence of competitiveness. That is where comparisons involving Olivia Miles and Caitlin Clark become especially interesting. Olivia Miles has built a reputation as a fiery competitor. Her confidence is obvious. Her willingness to engage opponents verbally is obvious. Her emotional investment in every possession is obvious. Yet the criticism directed at Caitlin Clark often appears amplified compared to what other players experience. Whether fair or unfair, Caitlin Clark exists under a microscope unlike any other young player in the league. Every reaction becomes a headline. Every gesture becomes a discussion point. Every disagreement becomes a debate. That level of scrutiny creates a unique psychological challenge. Players typically need emotional expression to compete at their highest level. Passion fuels performance. Confidence fuels aggression. Aggression fuels production. But Caitlin Clark often finds herself navigating an environment where the same emotional reactions generate significantly larger public discussions. Historically, this pattern has followed transformational athletes. When a player changes ratings, attendance, television numbers, and media attention, expectations rise simultaneously. Suddenly, Caitlin Clark is expected to be dominant while also being composed. She is expected to be emotional but not too emotional, competitive but not confrontational, confident but not overly confident. That balancing act is extraordinarily difficult. The result is a level of pressure that extends far beyond basketball skill. It becomes a test of public perception, media narratives, and personal resilience. And that may be the most difficult opponent Caitlin Clark faces.
About Olivia Miles' trash talk, it's being celebrated by her teammates. Check this out.
She plays with.
I mean, that's who she is. She loves basketball, super competitive. So I think you feel the energy, we feel the energy. We love it.
Has she given you a run for your money as best trash talker on the team yet?
Low key. She getting there. Low key.
So you see them celebrating.
The long-term implications extend beyond individual players. Every league benefits when personalities emerge. Rivalries create interest. Emotion creates engagement. Storylines create investment. The praise Courtney Williams offered regarding Olivia Miles highlights how teammates often value passion. Within locker rooms, competitive fire is frequently viewed as a positive trait rather than a negative one. That creates an interesting contradiction. If emotional intensity is celebrated internally, why does public reaction vary so dramatically depending on the player involved? For Caitlin Clark, the answer may lie in visibility. The bigger the star, the bigger the reaction. The bigger the audience, the bigger the scrutiny. The bigger the influence, the bigger the expectations. That reality affects franchise planning as well. Teams understand that games involving Caitlin Clark attract attention. Broadcasters understand it. Sponsors understand it. Opposing teams understand it. Every moment involving Caitlin Clark carries additional visibility, and visibility changes everything. It magnifies praise, it magnifies criticism, it magnifies controversy. Looking ahead, this dynamic is unlikely to disappear. If anything, it may intensify as younger stars like Olivia Miles continue entering the spotlight and developing their own identities. The league could eventually find itself balancing multiple highly emotional, highly competitive stars. If that happens, comparisons to Caitlin Clark will only increase. The central question becomes whether public standards eventually equalize or whether Caitlin Clark continues carrying a unique burden that other stars avoid. Because if the current pattern continues, Caitlin Clark may remain the player most scrutinized for behaviors routinely accepted from others, and that would make this debate one of the defining stories of her career.